But we begin with a major announcement by the federal government, a roadmap for rapidly evolving technology that's been finally unveiled after months of delay. Prime Minister Mark Carney released Canada's new national AI strategy. He says it will create thousands of AI-related jobs while protecting Canadians.
Our strategy has three guiding principles. The first is trust. We will protect your data, your privacy, and your children. Second, opportunity. We will empower Canadian workers, Canadian businesses, Canadian students with the tools to expand their knowledge, their expertise, and their futures. And finally, sovereignty. We will reinforce Canadian sovereignty so Canadians can make their own choices on how AI is built, governed, and used.
For more on the new AI strategy, let's go to Ottawa. And the CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is on the story for us. So Rafi, CBC News obtained an early draft of the strategy, which we've been reporting on for a couple of days. So bring us up to speed on what more we learned today.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we heard today was kind of matching what CBC News had from that draft document. So, you know, the $2 billion the government is investing into this, the 250,000 jobs it expects to create, this idea that it wants free education for Canadians at large about how to use AI and integrate, or rather have businesses integrate the use of AI. All of them do that by 2030. I am left with some questions, though, and that's kind of the part that I was more interested in hearing the Prime Minister speak about, because though we had that draft document, no government officials were commenting on it since it was a leak. So, for instance, there is this idea that Canada wants to invest in cloud sovereignty and cloud computing, have control over that, but we know that that's been listed as a trade irritant by the United States Trade Representative, and you know that's coming at a pretty sensitive time, right? As we gear up for this potential CUSMA Free Trade Agreement review in a little less than a month. So the Prime Minister was asked about that, and he rather focused on the idea that Canada will have its own sovereign clouds versus any potential problems down the line with our neighbors south of the border. Have a listen.
Where is the government of Canada going to hold your data and our national security data? It's going to hold it in Canada. That's the most extreme version of sovereign cloud, and with the most trusted providers. But we will make the laws here, and we will also grow our capacity here, our physical compute capacity, if I can put it that way, so that we can protect Canadians, yes.
Another unanswered question I'm left with is, again, this idea of job creation, the government insisting on 250,000 jobs as an estimate. Well, there's the flip side to that too, right? There are real concerns AI could displace some jobs, and there was a technical briefing with journalists from the government before the news conference that we just aired a clip of, and officials were asked about that, and basically they said, if they do have an estimate of job losses, we're not clear, and they wouldn't share it. So, you know, we asked about, will there be job losses? Do you share this concern? At first they started with, well, no, there will be job creations, and eventually got to saying they don't share those concerns, but it's still not clear to me whether there's some kind of internal estimate on that matter.
Yeah, that's a very important question. Critics of the strategy are starting to make their voices heard. What do they have to say?
Well, so the job loss issue is one of the ones raised by the Conservatives, but there was a bunch of others as well. I'm just going to let you listen to Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman.
There is no details in this strategy about privacy, about security, about how to keep Canadians safe. We look forward to seeing those details, but if the government's past behavior or the government's future behavior is predicated on its past behavior, we're not optimistic about security and privacy here.
We've also heard from the NDP in the last hour. They're saying that, again, this is too vague a strategy, and they're concerned about the government kind of imposing it on the public without any real debate going on. Of course, I should point out, so far, this is not legislation. It's a broad framework, right? It is a strategy. But we're also seeing nonpartisan sources chime in with their own concerns. Have a listen to this professor from Concordia University.
Reads more like a chocolate box of treats largely to the insiders who helped draft it than a coherent strategy. And I think it's hard to kind of unpack it as any one thing than many different vague things at once. And I think some of the places that we are hoping to see some more movement, particularly in the way that we're talking about protecting privacy or data rights, particularly workers and being impacted by AI, is kind of lacking. There continues to be a lack of awareness about the kind of environmental impacts that we hear time and time again.
I suspect, Andrew, that as the day goes on, we will hear some of these questions put directly to the government. We did hear Justice Minister Sean Fraser address some of these earlier today. He was saying that the specifics are coming, essentially, that this is just a strategy. Don't think of it as policies themselves. And that on the US piece, he said that regardless of potential trade irritants, Canada should be able to just kind of move ahead with its own sovereign set of rules.
Rafi, thank you. CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian live in Ottawa.